Hi, welcome to Jenny's Time. Today I'd like to first say a few words about China's COVID lockdown. CNN reported that since late August, at least 74 cities in China have been under full or partial lockdown, which is a population of more than 313 million people. And there will be more lockdowns in more cities down the road. China has resumed the normalization of COVID testing, which means everyone will be tested every 72 hours. Just as analysts pointed out, the CCP's epidemic control has become a political task and has nothing to do with health and science. For the CCP's top leadership, they must not admit that there are any mistakes in their policies. As the CCP's 20th National Congress approaches, things will only become tighter and more harsh. Cai Xia, a former professor of the CCP's Central Party School, published a long article in the Foreign Affairs magazine titled Xi Jinping's Weaknesses. It provides a very clear analysis of the situation in China today and reveals many little-known details of the high-level power struggle within the CCP. Cai Xia believes that Xi Jinping is likely to be re-elected for a third term, but his third term will bring more turbulence down the road. Xi will likely tighten his grip even further domestically and raises his ambitions internationally. He may even do something catastrophic, such as attack Taiwan. However, a war on Taiwan could lead to the downfall of Xi Jinping personally and even the collapse of the CCP. Now today, the main topic I want to talk about is actually the chip war between the US and China, particularly that the CCP lately indicated that it would use the so-called new whole state system to develop chips. On September 6, a meeting chaired by Xi Jinping passed a document that has a grand plan using the new whole state system to improve core technologies. Now, in the past, the CCP has used the whole state system to develop nuclear technology, as well as to build up athletic strength in order to obtain more gold medals at Olympics. Today, the CCP adds a word new to its old system and claims that it's a new system that is aimed to work with the market. Now let me read some sentences from the document. Improve the new whole state system for tackling core technologies and combine the government, the market, and society. Now another sentence reads like this. Adhere to the national strategic goal. Aim at key core technologies that are restricted by the West. Now, in the document, it also said that the centralized leadership of the party should be strengthened, and an authoritative decision-making system should be established. Now, the so-called new refers to a better combination of government and efficient markets. The document said so. Essentially, what the CCP means is that I spend money and you develop it. Yet the word new actually reflects a fundamental contradiction between the party's control and the independent operation of the market. As soon as the party controls anything that needs to conform to the laws of market, that thing is doomed to fail. The CCP has spent lots of money on chip development in the past 10 years. According to foreign media reports, the CCP has invested trillions of yuan in investment. But the semiconductor industry in China has not improved. From 2014 to 2019, China's self-sufficiency rate in chip production only increased from 15.1% to 15.7%. So the data I just quoted is from IC Insights, a US semiconductor market research company. The new approach is exactly like the old approach. If the old approach has not been successful in the past 10 years, how can it be successful just by adding the word new? Now, a lot of analysis said that the whole state system does not work for chips because chips is a highly market cooperative industry and the technology is constantly being updated. So the whole state system is not suitable for making chips. Now, these reasons are certainly true, but I want to add a few more observations. One is the lack of free spirit in China. After years of brainwashing, the indoctrination education, and the block of free information, most people in China today have indeed lost the ability to think freely and independently. The ability to think independently and freely is the foundation of innovation. So after so many years, China has become a copycat power. Especially in the field of science and technology, the ability to innovate is extremely lacking. Another observation is the moral breakdown of society. In China today, no one is willing to do something that takes years to develop. Everyone wants to make quick money. So even if there is such a talent who can endure years of hard work, they would have been driven out by other jealous people. Nowadays, what do people do after they take the money? An article published on a Chinese online media in April 2018 asked the question, where did the trillions of scientific research funds on chips go? The article said that in the past few years, only about 40% of the national scientific research funding was actually used for scientific research and development, and 60% was used for conferences. Business trips and overseas trips have greatly increased, and overseas trips basically becomes sightseeing tours. Another is buying equipment. After taking the money, the first thing the project team would do is to update all the computers and mobile phones of the team. Now, another way is to package a concept and then apply for funding. But once get the funding, people will not engage in scientific research. The most typical example is the 100 billion scam of Wuhan Hongxin. 2 years after Wuhan Hongxin is established, before a single chip was made, the capital chain of the company was broken, leaving only a factory and an ASMO lithography machine mortgaged to the bank. At that time, Hongxin even successfully recruited Mr. Jiang Shangyi, the former chief operating officer of TSMC. Yet when Jiang Shangyi and his R&D team entered the factory, they found that there was a problem with the factory design. The equipment was not in place, and it was impossible to develop and produce anything. The founder of Hongxin has also set up a number of other chip companies, all using the same model. For example, Jinan Quanxin had an investment of 59.8 billion yuan, about 8.8 billion US dollars. But 2 years passed and there was no trace of factory. In April 2021, the company announced that it would stop paying all employees. 180 of them were engineers hired from Taiwan. Others simply cheated. For example, the sensational Hanxin #1 chip is faked. There was this guy from Shanghai Jiaotong University who bought one type of Motorola chip from United States. Then he asked someone to send off all the MOTO words from the surface of the chips, and then stamp the words Hanxin #1 on the surface of each chip. Then he declared that it was the first high-end DSP chip with independent intellectual property rights in China. It caused a national sensation. He applied for dozens of scientific research grants of up to hundreds of millions of yuan, and no institution discovered any problem. Now, my last observation of why China cannot catch up on chip production is that China is gradually being excluded from the international system. The same day that the CCP released the document, that is September 6, the U.S. Department of Commerce announced a $50 billion U.S. chip fund. Now, any U.S. companies who will receive money from this fund cannot build any advanced chip technology factory in China within 10 years. Semiconductor production chain is extremely complex, and it's based on global cooperation. Many players in this industry chain have stopped cooperating with the CCP. SMIC does not sell high-end lithography machines to China. TSMC stopped providing chips to Huawei. American companies cannot sell or build high-end chips in China. Why is it that China is increasingly being excluded from the production chain? It's because of the CCP's own behavior. Since joining the WTO, the CCP has not abided by international rules, dumped cheap products to crush other countries' industries, used high-end chips to manufacture surveillance equipment to persecute people in China, or to build weapons to coerce Taiwan, or to militarize the South China Sea. The world is becoming more and more aware of the nature of the CCP. No one is willing to count them as a legitimate player. Now, countries are just like people. People need help from friends. When you are all alone without any friend, you can only go so far. So above are the 3 reasons I see why the CCP cannot catch up in chip production. And this is something we should all be thinking about. Well, thank you for watching. See you next time.